Resident Evil's had an amazing history between so many games. Since 1998, they have released game after game that's enriched a story, a lore, and a history of the T virus, the Plaga virus. You name it, it's probably in it somewhere with a virus. However, we're going to look at all the different Resident Evils throughout, well, the history from 1998 until now with the remaster of Resident Evil 2. And I'm going to tell you if it's good, bad, where it really falls in the timeline. Well, not timeline, but I'm going to tell you if it's a main story plot or if it's any good and what makes it good and what makes it bad very quickly because there's a lot to cover. So one day I'll probably come back to one or two of these, but because it's the month of terror, because of Cat Icarus, because I love him to bits and I really want to pay tribute to this Halloween month, we're going to look at them all. I really hope you enjoy this. Let's start where it all began. Now yes, there are 24 games to cover, ranging back from 1996 all the way up to 2019. We're going to start off with Resident Evil 1. Now there are two ways of playing this, there's the director's cut or the original release Resident Evil. I completely back playing the original Resident Evil, due to the fact the soundtrack's not god awful. It's dated by now, but has very stiff tank controls and actually set the bar for what a Resident Evil game is. Very stiff, awkward tank controls along with the fixed camera angles actually sets the tone for this game, giving it a very horror vibe. It's a very great start for Resident Evil, and honestly, play it just for the sake of playing it, for the laughable voice acting because it was 1996, and due to the fact that no PlayStation 1 game had really good voice acting. We jump 2 years later to 1998, Resident Evil 2. It is a very good sequel due to the fact it's a lot more moody, there's a lot more thought process. It was a redo from Resident Evil 1.5, which was the original Resident Evil 2, which got scrapped at 90% completion, I believe. Sure, there are multiple different versions like the Nintendo, the DualShock, etc, but overall, the original one's also the best one to play. I've generally still afraid of playing this game several times due to the fact it's so moody, the music's on point. Yes, the voice acting's still pretty bad, but not as bad as Resident Evil 1. Also the fact that this actually progressed the plot and put it in a very real circumstance, not on a mountain far, far away, but in the city where things can happen, and it's very possible that if there was ever a zombie apocalypse, this is most likely how it's going to go down. Jump to a year later, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis released. This is a prequel to Resident Evil 2, but after Resident Evil 1, where Jill Valentine, the protagonist, is now in the shoes of escaping the city that has gone to hell as the outbreak happens. Not only that, you're being chased by someone called Nemesis, an evolved version of Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. This is scary because he can bust through walls, chase you down, and you have these heart-throbbing moments where you have a choice of fighting him or running. This changed up the gameplay once again, but also kept the great staples of looking in boxes, running around, being scared by the fixed camera angles and tank controls. My god, in a heartbeat moment trying to fight Nemesis and turn yourself is a very scary notion. 2000 saw two releases, Resident Evil Survivor. Okay, this one's a bad game. Yeah, it's so boring, bland. The only way to actually slightly enjoy this game is by using a light gun. No LED TV can actually use a light gun, so therefore you have to play it with the controller, and it's stiffer than actually running about the place. Everything's not that scary, you're overloaded with ammo, your pistol never runs out. It's not really easy to beat the game, but it's not also easy to take it seriously as like being in danger and dire. I personally found the game so boring, I did fall asleep through it at one point. That's not joking, I generally fell asleep with the controller in my hand. But then we saw the release of Resident Evil Code Veronica, which was technically Resident Evil 4 if you think about it, but not really at the same time. This is kind of a side game if you think about it. Resident Evil Code Veronica sets you as Claire Redfield, a survivor of Resident Evil 2, been captured after going to Umbrella, France, trying to find your brother Chris Redfield because he's gone AWOL, and now you got trapped and imprisoned on an island, and oh look at that, zombie outbreak. Yeah, this is not going to be old, but it also has a great idea halfway through the story of actually changing the main cast members from Claire Redfield to Chris, therefore allowing you to experiment with a before and an after, effectively, of the prison island, where, you know, things bad have happened, yeah, but once you leave, Chris has got to deal with the aftermath of puzzles being solved and having to solve other puzzles which you couldn't solve in the first place. That, and also hoping to God that you're able to survive the whole zombie apocalypse, but reintroducing us with a staple villain of the series, Wesker. I absolutely love Wesker, and the fact he died in Resident Evil 1 made me sad because he was laughable, but the fact that he was this presence of evil, effectively, just being so two-faced and a double agent. The fact he came back alive and we then have a little bit of a window how he survived due to the fact that this set up a wee bit more of a plot line for future Resident Evils. 2001 saw a further 2 releases of Resident Evil. Resident Evil 2 Gun Survivor. It's Code Veronica but on Gun Survivor ideas. It's bad, I didn't like it, and once again, it's another gun game I fell asleep through. It's bad. It's really bad. Resident Evil Gaiden was also released at this time. It also wasn't that great. It was released on the Game Boy Color. It was okay. If you think tank controls was janky, the combat controls were even worse. Due to the fact you have a bar that jumps backwards and forward and you have to hit it right, otherwise the zombies are getting closer and will kill you. That, the lack of ammo, and also lack of plot in any driven way. Resident Evil Gaiden left a bad taste in my mouth when I got it. 2002 was good to us because we got the Resident Evil remake. That was a beautiful remaster of the amazing Spencer Mansion. It had been developed and even furthered with its horrific story, its horrible corridors that are so claustrophobic, more evil creatures lurking around, not just normal zombies. You had Crimson Head, you had whatever her name was. It was very scary because, you know, she just wailed and moaned around. Lisa Travers, there we go. Thank you, Wikipedia. Overall, this game was beautiful and it was nice to go back to a good Resident Evil game after the last couple of years of mediocre and okay. They nailed it out of the park, but they didn't just release that one because they also released Resident Evil 0, a prequel to the whole series. My god, this was great. Not only because you played as Rebecca Chambers, you actually played as a new character, Billy, an ex-military who was getting transported to prison. Yeah. Start on a train and eventually make it to the Arkley Mansion facility for Umbrella, where they do all their training and that. This also introduced a beautiful mechanic, not only because it was Resident Evil, back to tank control, stiff corridors, big enemies, scary things, but also introduced more variety of enemies, leeches, back to the dog, but also the fact that you could tag team in and out at any point between you and Billy Cohen. The fact this not only opened up storage space, but you could do tag team bunnies running from room to room, or putting one person to the far end of the map and the other to one end, let alone gave you horror feelings, because if one died somewhere you couldn't remember where they were, the game started over again. This was brilliant, and one day I really do hope to cover it because it is a really good game in my eyes. 2003 introduced us to 2 other games from Resident Evil. Resident Evil Outbreak is a great take upon how the infection started in Raccoon City, but it's a badly executed one at that. The fact that you have a virus meter which will fill up over time, it's a time-based thing. As soon as you're infected, that's it, you're on a clock. It's too easy to get infected, I'll say, and the clock is very short, especially with some of these maps being very big. Yes, you can decrease the virus or let yourself be bitten to pieces and that, but overall I found this very scary, very unnerving, that you had a limited time to do it. Yes, it gave you the sense of being in the outbreak, but at the same time, it was very rushed. The fact that you couldn't take in the ambience of each room, feel scared and get immersed, instead of going, oh god, I probably have about 4 minutes until I die. Then they released Resident Evil Dead Aim. My god, this is one of the shooters I didn't fall asleep through and played multiple times just because I could. I could actually beat this game in about 3 hours due to the fact, not only because it is a short game, but it doesn't take itself seriously either. This one takes place 4 years after that Raccoon City incident. You take the role of Bruce McGurvin as you infiltrate Spencer Rain, an ocean liner owned by Umbrella that has been infected by the T-virus, and there is one of the disgruntled ex-employees, Morpheus, who has infected himself along with trying to take revenge on Umbrella. It is a goofy ass plot, and that's one I do like, especially the fact that it can go first person, third person, running around, and it's got some puzzle solving. It's really good in my eyes, and technically is the main reason that I don't really consider Survivor 2 Code Veronica any good, because Dead Aim fucking nailed it. 2004 only saw Resident Evil Outbreak File 2. Basically, it's the same as Outbreak, but just different locations, and gives us a different take upon how the Outbreak went. It's kind of like how you can do a File 2 of most of the original Resident Evils. Other than that, there's nothing really more I can add to the Outbreak. It's okay at best. 5 out of 10, whoopee-doo. 2005 released Resident Evil 4. This is another Resident Evil I don't really care for. I know this is probably going to hack you all off, but it's one of those games that does not appeal to me whatsoever. Doesn't matter how many times they've re-released it or put it on eShops. I don't. It's so lifeless, colorless. The enemies are very stale and not interesting whatsoever. Sure, they're Plaga zombies with some horrific evolutions, but it's not something that really jumps out at me as this is a Resident Evil game. It's horrifying. Oh my god. It was more, yeah, it's welcome to hell effectively. It's not that great. 2007 released Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles, an on-rail shooter on the Wii, which was really good actually. I enjoyed it because it was goofy in the way it presented itself. You listen to the wonderful vocal range of Wesker as he recaps not only the Arklay Mansion, but he also recaps quite some new stuff that will happen future in story. It is beautiful, I do enjoy it, and it's one of those games that I can go back to and go, this was pretty damn cool. Later on in 2009 we saw Resident Evil 5. It was okay. I consider it the same as Resident Evil 4. It was very bland, nothing really interesting happening. Not scary at all, but at the same time the only thing that kept me invested was the fact Wesker was in it as a character, and it was the final showdown as the Cerberus virus, aka Plaga virus, was in motion because things had to happen. There was some DLC which backstory Jill and Chris going to a Spencer Mansion clone and all that, and the original founder of Umbrella and all that, but nothing really significant happens in this game and it's very skippable apart from Wesker's death. The next game that actually was released in this year was Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles. It's an okay game at best. I mean, at the end of it, it's another on-rail shooter. It wasn't of the same quality of Umbrella Chronicles. Unfortunately, this one takes place as Leon S. Kennedy as he recaps the Raccoon City incident, along with doing a current timeline event as well. But at the same time, it was trying to present itself as a CGI movie / on-rail shooter, which it worked for what it did for the Wii, but hey ho, it was a game. I couldn't turn my nose up at it. 2011 Resident Evil Mercenaries 3D. 2012 released 3 different Resident Evil games. Resident Evil Revelations. This is actually a good game. It tried going back to the horror aesthetics. It had a really confusing trailer. Like, stuff had happened, and if you hadn't been tuning into the previous, it was very confusing. Other than that, it went back to good old puzzle solving, tight controls with very claustrophobic areas. The enemies weren't zombies, but they were, they were interesting to deal with. I can't really say it's a bad game because, well, it was an alright one. Next was Resident Evil 6. Yeah, I think there's been plenty of footage or plenty of people giving their opinions upon this. Mine's is no different. I can't say anything positive about this game, and I'm moving straight on. Oh god, okay. 2012 wasn't a good year for Resident Evil. It really was bad. Is the fact that we didn't get another Resident Evil game for 2 years afterwards. This was bad. It was horrible. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City was just a god-awful train wreck. Multiplayer, yes. The fact that they made it, the AI buggy, the multiplayer bad, the controls bad, and trying to set it in Raccoon City, instead of being like horror themed, it was more action packed, running away and dealing with waves of zombies. Oh, it was just, never mind, moving on. 2015 saw Resident Evil Revelations 2, an episodic version of Barry's journey trying to rescue his daughter. I was in for it. I haven't completed it. I can't really say anything else than it was pretty cool. I liked it for the first chapter, but if it gets any better or if there's anything, you know, if the ending of the game was brilliant or that, let me know, because Barry is an underrated character, and to finally see him after so many years being put in as the main role of this game, yeah, cool. 2016, Umbrella Corps. This isn't a main title of Resident Evil, and it's not really a Resident Evil game. The fact this has Umbrella Corps is just a formality in my eyes. This was horrible, and nope. 2017 saw Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Oh my god, they fucking nailed it. This is one of the rare few games I have watched many people do. I've played myself, I've even done it in VR, and it's horrifying. This put, like, even though it was first person perspective, it put the fear back into the series. It set a new tone for the series to take. The fact that developed this brand new engine, the RE engine, and gave us horror that we wanted. The fact that nowhere feels the same, no enemy interaction feels the same, even though they're kind of like sludgy slash virus monster things, and the residents themselves are quite nuts. This game set the tone and brought life back into the series, and thank God it did. The amount of DLC that expanded the story, not only before the events, but actually after the events of the main title itself, was worth the play, and sets up not only a future part of the story, but actually harkens to what it's capable of doing from now on. Then 2019 saw Resident Evil 2 Remake. This is by far my favorite in the series. I have my one or two from the previous umpteen titles, but this is by far my favorite, and if you like it that much, why don't you click on the annotation there and it'll take you to my review. Sure, it's dated, and sure, my review's a bit nervous and that, but you really want to go check it out. Just go check it out like that. Other than that, it's so perfect in what it did. It revitalized Resident Evil 2, gave it a facelift, gave us some new stuff, but didn't change the overall outcome of it. Didn't change too much from the original. It did, however, put the fear and poop back into my pants. But overall, that is every single Resident Evil game. If you're really wondering, like, the good, the bad, the indifferent, here's a wee graph for you. And there we have it, people. We have managed to make it right up to the very recent release of Resident Evil. Now, I know I'm going to try my best to hack a few of you off with this video, or make some of you just go, I've never heard of that game. Where's it from? Why is it there? Maybe you'll go investigate about it. But hopefully my opinion has actually inspired you to go and do something or have a look at some of them. Other than that, one last thing I will cover. Project Resistance wasn't in this video, mainly because it's just a concept trailer right now. When they release a lot more, which probably will be long after this video has been made and edited and published, I don't know, maybe I'll have a look at it, maybe give my thoughts upon it, but right now I don't think much of it other than it's a Left 4 Dead clone, the fact that you can play with Mr. X and any other infected. It's the Left 4 Dead multiplayer. I'm not fussed by it. It's could be good, could be bad. It's not one I'm going to be looking into that much, but until they release like, oh, that's really a sequel and prequel and all, that's when I might give my 2 cents about it. Other than that, don't hope for much for that side of things. Other than that, hope you have enjoyed this one, as is the second video in the month of terror of October. Anyway, next video, watch out for it. Thank you so much for sticking around and getting to the title card here. Yes, this is kind of a mainline video. It's the month of terror, so it's going to be an October big video. I'll release it as one big video when it's all done and dusted. And I really hope you have enjoyed me doing this video and showing you some really great video games if you haven't seen them before. Other than that, please watch out for the next one because it's a weird one. It's getting closer to the final main review and then starting me doing the main game review things again, other than top 5 crap. So yeah, hope you like this. Catch you around for the next one. I'm gonna just go now instead of dragging this out. Now, if I remember how I use tank controls.